we're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Way to address staff shortages, they're going to use robots. The Shaking Crab in New London is going to start doing so in early October, but on a limited basis. The robots will only serve the meals. The restaurant will still use regular waiters and waitresses to explain the menu to customers and to take orders. The robots will just handle the food delivery from there. The owner admits this is not just staff shortages doing this. There is an element of showmanship as well.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that video just to make you think. And we had Grayscale on CNBC, guys. Now, we see that Grayscale sold about $8 billion worth of cryptos in the last few days. And wondering why the market is falling. Guys, we know this is all manipulated. We are in the most orchestrated transfer of wealth in history. So, guys, please take advantage of it. Don't let this dip scare you. We know the Fed meets tomorrow. And then also, guys, the robots are coming. Robots are being slowly added to restaurants. And like Andrew Yang said at the beginning of the video, they'll slowly move through the economy. Because we know, when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Let's turn now to Bitcoin. It and other major cryptocurrencies weren't immune from yesterday's sell-off, with Bitcoin dropping as much as 10%. Now, all of this, of course, also after SEC Chair Gary Gensler warned last week that crypto is a Wild West asset class rife with fraud. And Coinbase yesterday dropped its plans to offer a 4% yield product after a pretty public spat with the SEC. Joining me now is Grayscale Investments CEO Michael Sonnenschein. Michael, it's great to have you. Obviously, you guys are still working on this Bitcoin ETF, but you have kind of the major Bitcoin trust product for the time being. I don't know if you want to offer just any general thoughts on how you think over time crypto should be performing as an asset class.
Well, it's great to be here, Kelly. I think there's zero question that in investors' minds, crypto can now occupy a slice of their portfolio allocation. And it's not just Bitcoin anymore. Investors have increasingly been diversifying their cryptocurrency holdings. I think that the SEC and regulators have a tough job at the moment. The ecosystem around digital assets is evolving very, very, very quickly. And even just as recently as today, Chairman Gensler actually had some commentary that once again invited industry participants into the SEC to discuss the products and services they're offering, and stated that the SEC does in fact have the authority to regulate crypto.
Right, which, he seems to be making it very clear that something will be coming in this space. What did Coinbase do wrong from your point of view?
Well, I think Coinbase and companies like Grayscale as well are the types of industry participants that are asked for permission, not for forgiveness types of organizations.
Right.
We're making use of existing securities regulations to provide products and services around digital currencies. So it'd be tough to say exactly what Coinbase did wrong. But unfortunately, I think that, where we are today, there needs to be some more guidance from the SEC, and we really have to move to a place of actual regulation beyond just enforcement actions, which we continue to see.
And I guess the distinction that you're making goes back to other platforms like we were talking about with Kate Rooney yesterday that offer yield products with higher yields. It's unclear exactly how they're generating those yields, and they're not asking for permission, are they?
Well, I think it depends on the company and the product or the service, but there is no doubt that crypto as an asset class in investors' minds is here to stay. And some of these features like staking, lending, earning yield, these are the types of products and services that are becoming increasingly important to investors.
Are you disappointed in the growth of stablecoins and the attention they're now drawing from regulators, having to figure out whether they are akin to money market mutual funds and so forth? I've heard even those like Caitlin Long, who are, Bitcoin hodlers, if you want to call it that, saying this is unhealthy speculative activity, the kinds of credit creation that Bitcoin was intended to avoid in its sort of hard money ethos. So I'm just curious what your point of view is on a lot of this activity that's been taking place.
Well, stable coins have become a fixture on the digital currency ecosystem, given that they do offer the ability to create a stable point within investors' portfolios when they're moving in and out of different digital currencies, rather than relying on the traditional banking system, which has all kinds of time delays and fees associated with getting back to a fiat asset, be it US dollars or otherwise. But as is the case for Bitcoin, as is the case for stablecoins, it remains early days. And I know that this industry and the momentum behind it will continue to work with regulators to smooth out any concerns that there may be.
So, if we turn back just to what's been going on with Bitcoin and sort of the different investment avenues into it, would you guys launch a Bitcoin futures ETF if that ends up being the only regulatory path?
I wouldn't rule out anything. I think at Grayscale, we've continued to toe a line between providing investors with investment options that we find compelling and that we want to provide unique opportunities and access to, with where investors are telling us they want to have that exposure. I think it would be an unfortunate scenario if the SEC were to only approve Bitcoin futures-based ETFs and not really instead allow for a level playing field, which would put both spot or physically backed Bitcoin ETFs in the market at the same time as futures-based ones, and instead let investors make that decision as to whether or not they want one product or the other.
But what would your response be if the SEC says, well, there's already a way for people to go long Bitcoin, they just literally buy it? Why do they need an ETF?
There is certainly no shortage of evidence that investors want exposure to Bitcoin in the form of a security. Our flagship product, GBTC, has tens of billions of dollars invested in it and is the largest Bitcoin fund in the world. Despite its popularity and its success, though, Kelly, there is still a segment of investors that are waiting for the familiarity and the protection that an ETF wrapper provides. So we feel that this is certainly going to be an important part of the ecosystem that will draw in more capital and will draw in more investors.
Final quick question on this. Is it possible that just as you're sort of making the case for a Bitcoin ETF, the ETF itself loses tax advantages because of changes in Washington?
That is a very interesting question, and that's a new piece of legislation or a potential piece of legislation that just recently has been floated out there. I think with the rise of ETFs and their popularity and their utilization in investor portfolios, it'd be unfortunate to see any kind of legislation that would dampen the life cycle of ETFs or the growth of that part of the investment universe.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends. So therefore, we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Yashu and Drama Team save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Yashua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.